Now if you're going to stop in Corrigin to have a look at the museum, you will have to be here on the right days. Now I will put the information for that below, so if you want to time your trip so that you can get in and have a look at the gear here, you'll be able to do so. The last time we were here it was shut and we didn't get a chance to come through and have a look. Have some medical equipment here. Having just had my face chopped up last week, I am certainly glad I didn't live in the times that this lot was being used. Get a look at that needle down there. Thankfully things have progressed somewhat since this gear was in use. Some rather old telephone equipment. I think these ones may be the old party lines. The winder on there I think is through a magneto that gives it some power, and everybody was connected to the same line, so if you made a call and people wanted to listen in, sometimes could be fairly embarrassing, I guess. There are some stories about that I'll have to check up on. Anybody who has been to an old school in WA as a student, and if they're my vintage, and I'm 60 now, once they walk into a classroom like this, they are back in primary school. Goodness me, the smell. It must be something to do with the boards. Our desks were a little bit different to that, but still spaces there for inkwells. This would date from a little bit before my time. Probably the ones over here are more my style, although these are minus inkwells, but I do remember that from primary school. Chuck your books in there. Even the plywood tops, massive overkill. Those things would last for a couple of 100 years if the termites didn't get into them. Oh, but the smell in here, I tell you what, I am right back in primary school at the moment. It's amazing, that smell. Every time I walk into an old classroom like this, it smells the same. The old chalk blackboards. Marvellous. Modern schools have got nothing on these old places. All bricks and air conditioning these days. Even the old light and hanging from the ceiling there, probably kerosene. Can't quite see myself sitting on one of these desks ever again, but yeah, very interesting. I went to Thomas Street School up in Subiaco, and briefly I think, where's the other school? No, that was all I went to. The old textbooks up here. I don't know that I would recognise anything now, even if I saw something from my schooling days. Too long ago to remember it. ovens that used to heat up on the cooktop, and they did make some that you could put coals inside. And here we have a collection of old kitchen utensils. A very good little collection of gear here. The town's done very well to put all this together. Interesting little museum. $5 entry fee. So if you do make it out here, try to get out here on the day as the museum's open and come and have a look through. Really interesting to see some of the old gear. You get some old rabbit traps and things down there, and possibly dingo traps, the bigger ones. Not a very pleasant item to think about. It's a food safe of some sort. Keep the flies out. Keep the mice out as well, I guess, because you'd be hanging it from the roof. Lovely old mantle clocks up there. Just don't see stuff like that anymore. Oh, goodness me. What I wouldn't give for one of those. For a very, very long time since I smoked a cigar. It's a really gorgeous little museum here. They've done a wonderful job putting this collection together. Small collection of old cameras, even some of the old bellows type down the bottom there. Now if you really want to go and see cameras, if it's still open, the Corrigin Museum out in Meckering is the most amazing collection of cameras I've ever seen in my life. You get some old things like, I don't know if they're box brownies, I'm not a camera expert, but the ones at the back certainly look like that kind of camera. Got some old belt-driven shearing stands up here. You would have a motor outside with belts attached to it that drove a bar that ran the shears. Some old wool presses here in the corner. It was used for baling up the wool. And last but not least, we have a collection of older vehicles, and of course, being out in the wheat belt, some farming machinery. What museum in the wheat belt would be complete without harvesters and tractors and seeders and all that sort of gear. A particularly interesting old rugby truck. Some of these little country museums are a real treasure trove of items that really you're never going to see anywhere else. So if you're out in the wheat belt, just mooching around, having a look at the different little towns, make an effort to get into these little museums. Really eye-openers of days gone by, I think. Quite a collection of little tractors. And some very old ones. And even earlier vintage stuff, the old carts and drays from the days of real horsepower.